I received a cease and desist letter from CD Baby today. I'm going to be talking about it. Let's get into it. What's up, y'all? My name is Nico Santana. I've been an independent musician / artist for well over 10 years. I've used various distribution services. However, this is not about them. This is about the CD Baby Corp Enterprise, aka Audio and Video Labs Inc., sending me a cease and desist letter for my podcast, which sits at less than 100 subscribers on YouTube and less than 200 Instagram followers, with a couple thousand views on YouTube and a couple hundred plays on podcasting services. But nonetheless, it's a relatively unknown podcast. So why would this podcast receive a cease and desist letter from CD Baby? And what is CD Baby ultimately trying to do to someone like myself, an independent artist? We'll get into it here. So here it is, the official cease and desist letter from Audio and Video Labs Inc., which trades under several names, including CD Baby and DIY Musician. And I'm going to read this word for word so that it doesn't get misconstrued or it doesn't look like I'm hyperbolizing or anything like that. So stay tuned. This is a legal document to a degree, of course. It can be a little dry, but I think it's important information for you guys who are trying to do something creative and think that because you are an independent creator, no one's paying attention. Well, apparently they are. Mr. Santana, I have the pleasure of representing Audio and Video Labs Inc., AVL, quote unquote, an international music distribution and licensing company trading under several names, including CD Baby and DIY Musician. It has come to AVL's attention that my company, NTS Media LLC, produces and distributes a podcast under the name DIY Artist Podcast, in quotation. For the avoidance of doubt, images of the DIY Artist Podcast Instagram and YouTube pages are attached to this letter as Exhibit A. AVL owns the registered service mark, quote, DIY Musician, end quote. And they've also provided the copy of the registered service mark, and has been using the mark in commerce at least as early as 2007, including in relation to its long-running podcast series, which I believe has over 200 episodes. For your reference, I have attached an image of the DIY Musician registration certificate as Exhibit B. As you can see, the description of services includes, and this is italicized, inter alia, quote, providing podcasts in the field of music and entertainment, end quote. NTS Media's use of, quote, DIY Artist Podcast, end quote, creates a high likelihood of consumer confusion. Now, this is their words, a high likelihood of consumer confusion. AVL and its predecessors have spent decades building goodwill in the DIY Musician brand and will not allow their use to be usurped. And this is in bold, demand, all capitalized, is hereby made that NTS Media LLC cease and desist trading under the name, quote, DIY Artist, end quote, within 10 days. I'm assuming 10 days of the letter, although you could also argue 10 days within receipt of the letter, which as of today's date is April the 6th of 2022. AVL would prefer to resolve this matter amicably. However, if you have not complied within the specified time frame, we will pursue, this is their words, pursue more formal legal avenues to enjoin NTS Media and seek monetary damages. Interesting. A couple things to note here. At the time of the recording of this recording right now, the DIY Artist Podcast Instagram is no longer DIY Artist Podcast Instagram. It's actually _musicpreneur now, in case you're wondering. I'm not infringing on the service mark. I'm not utilizing the verbatim DIY Musician. That's number one. I mean, that's a fact. I'm not making that up. That's a fact. The DIY Artist Podcast is a podcast made by, produced, written, directed, scheduled. I schedule all the interviews. I record myself and the person on the other side of the call. I edit all the footage myself. I am a Latino migrant hip hop artist who came up as an independent artist with little to no resources from a lower income community, mostly of immigrants, Central American immigrants. My story is pretty fascinating. I have an MBA in marketing. I was able to get myself through college and get a scholarship in advertising and business. I spent over 6 years in a form of claims litigation, which enabled me to learn a lot about the law and policy and contract language and all those things. So I'm not stupid. As my personal opinion, I find this cease and desist letter to be, I don't even have the words. It's if it were someone in my similar circumstances, as a migrant, as a Latino, as a minority, someone who has had diverse representation in the podcast, and I'm gonna show you guys who I've had on my podcast. This is why artists feel belittled, and this is the same exact reason why I started the DIY Artist Podcast, because I wanted the DIY Artist Podcast to be by artists for artists, the underrepresented, the underdog, and not just any artist, independent artists who are literally coming from the trenches and trying to make it. Even if make it to them means I can pay my light bill. I work a full-time job. I have 3 kids. I'm married. I have a full-time career. I have a side business. Music, as great as it has been for me, where I've been able to tour to South America, Canada, I've been able to get in touch with some of, industry who's and top pop artists and things of that nature. I've performed with Anthem Lights. I've met J Balvin. I've had an opportunity to shake hands with Latin great superstars like Juan Luis Guerra and like I said, J Balvin. And even yet and still, I don't do this full time, guys, because it's difficult. So to receive a cease and desist letter, to me, as an independent artist, someone who's literally trying to elevate other artists, I'll let you guys form your opinion of who CD Baby is. I want to hear your thoughts. Guys, as reasonable, prudent people, A, would you confuse the DIY Artist Podcast with anything that CD Baby's trying to do? And I'll showcase some of the stuff here in a little bit. And B, what would you do? What are your thoughts in this situation? Now, again, I've already changed things. I've already changed the name of my DIY Artist Podcast Instagram to The Musicpreneur. I'm going to continue moving forward with naming it The Musicpreneur Podcast. Everything from the actual podcast to the logo to the title on YouTube, everything has changed. So that's been changed, for lack of a better word. Some people are already saying they have no grounds, that it's not my words, but some people are saying they have no grounds. This is ridiculous. He actually said, are they going to shut down Etsy too because they sell DIY stuff? I guess this is their, CD Baby musician, whatever thing that they have going on. Look at the representation, right? Let's keep looking. Let's take a look at the representation here. All right, here's another one. Let's take a look at the representation. Here's the representation again. I'm not sure who this guy is, but he seems to be on a lot of stuff. Oh, there we go. So yeah, DIY musician podcast tips, here's that one guy again. Here's the same guy. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the Musicpreneur podcast, right? I had to take down a lot of the content because it was alluding to, the DIY artist. So I apparently can't use that. Again, I'm Latino. We have Carolina. We have my boy Ivan here, another Latino. Will Hatton from London, there's my bro, my boy Javi Cruz, So what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to get a diverse range of people. My goal is to get what the DIY, the true independent DIY artist community looks like, feels like, is represented by the other 99%. I feel like there was a better way to approach someone. My intention was not to infringe on their service mark DIY musician with the DIY Artist Podcast. We don't offer conferences. We don't sell products. I don't sell merch. I'm not getting paid per listen on the podcast. This is free, guys. In fact, I spend money to get this distributed, number one, to get this advertised and marketed. I'm lucky to have landed a sponsorship, but that's it, y'all. Like, this is grassroots. So I don't know, man. It's sad. It's the sad reality that we live in. We're in an independent artist community. We should be lifting each other up, and I'll let you guys decide, man. I'm getting emotional here talking about this. So, like I said, man, I'm an immigrant Latino kid, born and raised low income community, trying to do something positive for the artist community here, trying to give of myself here. And I just don't think that this is a fair representation of what our true independent artist community is like. So that's all I got, guys. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. If you're interested in following my journey, of course, this is my YouTube channel. If you're interested in listening to the podcast, I'll be creating new episodes or recording new episodes and editing them soon, hopefully, as time allows. I'll be trying to do a weekly episode. Right now it's bi-weekly, and that's going to be the Musicpreneur podcast, which will, again, I'll relabel everything in accordance to what they're asking me to do, and that'll be linked down below. Feel free to show support as best you can. Any lawyers, any attorneys that want to provide any insight, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and of course, every artist on here is more than welcome to provide their own insight and give kind of express themselves with this stuff. So much love, guys. Keep making music. Keep doing that. Don't let the world weigh you down. Yeah. Peace.